Good morning, students. Welcome back to online class. Today we are going to discuss a motion of freely falling body. Already we had discussed the equations of motion, S need, and also the derivations. So let us consider a small example. Take a large stone and a small eraser. Stand on the top of a table and drop them simultaneously from the same height. What do we observe? Now take a small eraser and a sheet of paper, drop them simultaneously from the same height. What do you observe? You can observe that both the stone and the eraser reach the surface of the earth almost at the same time. When you drop the eraser and paper, the eraser reaches first and the sheet of paper reaches later. So you can also observe that both of them, first the paper and the eraser, it reaches the later time, but the stone and the eraser both are almost reaches at the same time. Do you know the reason? When all these objects are dropped in the absence of air medium, all would have reached the ground at the same time. In air medium, air offers some resistance to the motion of the falling objects, but it is negligibly small when compared to the gravitational pull acting on the stone and the eraser. Hence, they reach the ground at the same time. So, it can be seen from these activities that the magnitude of air resistance depends upon the area of the objects exposed to air. We know that an object experiences acceleration during free fall. This acceleration experienced by an object is independent of mass. This means that all objects, hollow or solid, big or small, should fall at the same rate. It does not depend upon the mass of the substance. The equations of motion for a freely falling body can be obtained by replacing A in equations with G. The acceleration due to gravity for falling body which is initially at rest. Falling body, what happens? Initially at rest. That's why we have to describe, that is U is equal to 0. And after that we derived the equations of motions. The equations are substituted here. Already we know the equations, that is V is equal to U plus AT. Already we know that formula. So A is replaced by G and you have to substitute the U value. So finally we will get V is equal to GT. And second equation, S equal to UT plus half AT square. A is equal to G is needed. So what will come? S equal to half GT square. And V square equal to U square plus 2AH. A is equal to G. So the formula will be V square is equal to 2GH. So when we throw an object vertically upwards, it moves against the acceleration due to gravity. Already you know, or the acceleration due to gravity, it's acting towards the earth, or it's nothing but moving towards the downward directions only. When we are throwing an object in the upward directions, it moves against the acceleration due to gravity. So A is taken as minus g. The object is moving upwards. A is equal to what value? Minus g. When the object is moving in the downward direction, A is taken as a plus g value. Because the object is moving in the downward direction, the gravity also is acting towards the downward directions. That's why the gravity is taken as a plus g value. Is it clear, students? So we discussed what? A motion of freely falling body we discussed. It's A is equal to g, we have to substitute. Okay. So next we got to move on to circular motion. Already we discussed the types of the motion. We studied what is circular motion. Is the object makes in a circular path is called as circular motion. And also we discussed what is a uniform motion and what is non-uniform motion, isn't it? So in this chapter we are going to discuss what is uniform circular motion. When an object is moving with a constant speed along a circular path, when an object is moving with what? Constant speed along a circular path, this is only is called as uniform circular motion. In this place, in the uniform circular motion, the velocity changes due to the change in directions. Simply we have to say the velocity is taken as a constant value, but it changes the direction. So hence we have to say it is an accelerated motion. For example, we have to take as a revolution of earth around the sun, or a revolution of the moon around the earth. So these are the some of the examples for the uniform circular motion. Already you know the revolution of all the planets around the sun is taken as what? The circular path is needed. Or the revolution of the moon around the earth also is taken as a uniform circular motion only. So what is circular motion? When an object is moving with a constant speed along a circular path, here the velocity changes due to the change in directions only. So we could able to write what is the speed or in the velocity of the circular motion, we could able to write. If an object moving along a circular path of radius r, what is the symbol of radius? Smallest r. It takes a time t to come back its starting position, then speed v is given by, already we know speed is equal to distance by or displacement by time taken, isn't it? Here the object makes on a circular path, the distance is taken as here the circumference of the circle only. So what is the circumference of the circle formula? 2 pi r. It is substituted here. It gives us a speed formula, that is v is equal to 2 pi r by t. T be the time taken. So what is the uniform circular motion speed formula? V is equal to 2 pi r by t. 2 pi r is circumference of the circular path and t be the time taken. T be the time taken when an object making along the circular path. Are you understand, students? So based on the uniform circular motion, we are going to discuss centrifugal force and also the centrifugal acceleration. So first we got to move on to centrifugal acceleration. A body is said to be accelerated if the velocity of the body changes either in magnitude or in direction. So when we have to say the object is accelerated, the velocity of the object may be changed. It's depending upon the magnitude or in the directions, because velocity is a vector quantity, isn't it? So the motion of a stone in the circular path with a constant speed and continuous change of direction is an accelerated motion. Already we know the acceleration. Velocity changes with respect to the time. This is only is called as the accelerations. So in this case, there must be an acceleration acting along the string directed inverse. Let us consider as a small ball is tied with a string. and after that the string is comes for the rotation, it makes a circular path, isn't it? So we have to say the ball is comes for the accelerations. So there must be an acceleration acting along the string directed inwards, which make the stone to move in the circular path. So the acceleration is acting towards the center of the object. Afterwards only it makes two stone to move in the circular path. So this acceleration is known as centripetal acceleration. This force is known as centripetal force. So what is centripetal acceleration? Here the acceleration acting along the string, it's directed towards, which makes the stone to move in the circular path. The stone is replaced by any one of the object also. So this acceleration is called as the centripetal acceleration, and the force is known as centripetal force. So since the centripetal acceleration is directly radially towards the center of the circle, the centripetal force must act on the object radially towards the center. So the centripetal force, the force is acting towards the center. This is what is called as the centripetal force. So let us consider the object of mass smallest m moving along a circular path of radius smallest r with a velocity v. Its centripetal acceleration is given by a is equal to v squared by r. V be the speed or the velocity, and r is taken as the radius of the circular path. So we could able to write the what is the centripetal force formula. Already we know the force formula according to Newton's second law. F is equal to ma. Here the acceleration is taken as a centripetal acceleration. It is substituted, we will obtain the formula F is equal to mv squared by r. So m is taken as a mass of an object, v be the speed of an object, and r be the radius of the circular path. So the centripetal force, the force is acting towards the center of an object, towards the center. This is the main difference. So this is only is called as the centripetal force. So now let us move on to the examples for the centripetal force. Spinning a ball on a string. So first we got to move on to the first example, spinning a ball on a string. Let us consider as the ball is tied with a one string. Here the centripetal force is provided by the force of tension on the rope pulls the object in towards the center. Afterwards only it makes a circular path. And second we got to move on to turning a car. Here the centripetal force is provided by the frictional force between the ground and the wheels. So in the turning car, what we are feeling, we are also is slightly leaning towards the car also. So it is slightly changing the positions also. This only is taken as what is the example of the centripetal force. So what are the examples? Spinning a ball on a string, and second we have taken as a turning a car. So in the turning a car, the centripetal force is provided by the frictional force between the ground and the wheels. So already you studied in 8th standard what is frictional force, what are the uses, what are the advantages and its advantages. Already you studied, isn't it? Is it clear, students? So what we discussed first, what is centripetal force, and second we discussed what is the centripetal force formula, and third we discussed example of centripetal force. Okay, so next we got to move on to centrifugal force. First we discussed what is centripetal force. Second we are going to discuss what? Centrifugal force. So the centrifugal force is nothing but the force acts in the direction which is opposite to the direction of the centripetal force. So what is the direction of the centripetal force? The centripetal force is acting towards the center, isn't it? But in the centrifugal force acts in the direction which is opposite to the direction of the centripetal force. But centrifugal force and the centripetal force, the magnitude is same only. But what is changing here? It changes only the direction. See the centripetal force, the diagram also. See the arrow mark also, it's always acting towards the center. This is only is taken as a centripetal force. And see the second figure also. Here the example of the centrifugal force and the centrifugal force is given. So this arrow mark is moving towards the center. This is called as a centrifugal force. And here the arrow mark is moving away from the center. This is called as the centrifugal force. So what is centrifugal force? The force acting on your body away from the center of the circular path is called as centrifugal force. What is centrifugal force? The force acting on your body away from the center of the circular path is called as centrifugal force. What is centrifugal force? The force acting on your body away from the center of the circular path is called as centrifugal force. So let us move on to the example of the centrifugal force. The best example we have taken is the dryer in a washing machine. Dryer in a washing machine is an example for application of centrifugal force. How it acts? Here in the dryer, the wet clothes are moving circular path and force act on water particle in clothes, and this force pull water to outer side. So the water is pulling, afterwards only it's moving, isn't it? So the force pull the water to outer side. This water is removed from clothes and clothes are dried in this machine. So basic principle is centrifugal force acting on water. So the water molecules are moving away from the center of the water. The circular path is made by the dryer. The clothes also comes for the circular path only. So the water molecules are moving outer side. Afterwards only the clothes are dried in this washing machine. So basic principle is centrifugal force acting on water. Are you understand, student? So what we discussed first? The important concept in physics we discussed. What is centrifugal force and acceleration? What is the centrifugal force formula? And next we discussed what is centrifugal force and what is the example of centrifugal force. So I hope students you understand the concept and also understand what and all we discussed in this session. Thank you. Thank you, students.
Good morning, my dear students. Today we discuss Rutherford's atomic model. Students, you know, atoms are a tiny particles and it contains three subatomic particles. They are proton, electron and neutron. Because these particles are present inside the atom, so these particles are called subatomic particles. Proton and neutron is present in the nucleus and electrons are revolving around the nucleus. In the nucleus, we know protons and neutrons are present. In this, proton and neutrons are collectively called as nucleons. So, what are nucleons? Number of protons plus number of neutrons. So, protons and neutrons are collectively called as nucleons. Many scientists propose their atomic models. First, Dalton proposed an atomic model. According to this model, atom is a spherical shaped particle. That means atom to be a ball-like structure. Thomson proposed Blum-Wittig model. In this model, negatively charged electrons are embedded in the positively charged protons. Next, Rutherford proposed his model. In this model, protons and neutrons are present in the center of the atom called nucleus, and electrons are revolving around the nucleus like planets around the sun. Students, we have learnt Dalton's atomic theory and J.J. Thomson's theory in your 8th standard. Schrödinger proposed his model. According to his model, electron is a wave and electrons around the nucleus. So today we see Rutherford's atomic model. In 1911, Rutherford, a scientist from New Zealand, performed his famous experiment of bombarding a thin gold foil with very small positively charged particles called alpha particles. He selected a gold foil because he wanted as thin layer as possible. And we know gold is the most malleable metal. What is malleability? Metal hammered into thin sheets. Very thin gold foil, approximately it contains nearly 1000 atoms. This is the apparatus setup for Rutherford's model. He bombarded a thin gold foil with very small positively charged alpha particles. Why did he select alpha particles? Because alpha particles having high energy and more heavier work. See, here he taken alpha particle in a lead container with a small slit. From this slit, the alpha particles came out and traveled in a straight line. And he arranged a fluorescent screen surrounded a gold foil. When the alpha particles hit the screen, it will glow. From this experiment, he observed most of the alpha particles passed straight through the foil. Some alpha particles were slightly deflected from their straight path. Very few alpha particles completely bounced back. This is the Rutherford's atomic model. Finally, he proposed his model. Based on this experiment, he proposed his model. Atom contains large empty space. So only most of the alpha particles passed straight through the foil. There is a positively charged mass at the center of the atom known as nucleus. So only very few alpha particles completely bounced back. And the size of the nucleus of an atom is very small compared to the size of an atom. So size of the nucleus is very small compared to the size of an atom. We know atom is a very tiny particle and this is the tiniest particle we know. So nucleus is very tiny particle present in the atom. The electrons revolve around the nucleus in closed circular paths called orbits. Atoms are electrically neutral. We know the charge of proton is positive and charge of electron is negative. And what is the charge of an atom? Atoms are electrically neutral. That is, the number of protons and number of electrons in an atom is equal. So in any atom, the number of proton is equal to the number of electron. So atoms are electrically neutral. We know proton having positive charge, electron having negative charge. So number of proton is equal to number of electron, means positive charge is equal to negative charge. So it will be neutralized. So atoms are electrically neutral. Rutherford's model of atomic structure is similar to the structure of the solar system. In the solar system, the sun is at the center and the planets revolving around it. Similarly, in an atom, the nucleus is at the center of atom and electrons revolving around the nucleus. So, this model is otherwise called planetary model. Next, what are the limitations of Rutherford's model? According to electromagnetic theory, moving electron should accelerate and continuously lose energy. Due to the loss of energy, path of electron may reduce and finally the electron should fall into the nucleus. If it happens, so atom becomes unstable. So, Rutherford's model is failed to explain the stability of an atom. So, this is the limitation of Rutherford's model. So, Rutherford's model is failed to explain the stability of an atom. So, this is the main drawback of Rutherford's model. So, students, what is another name for Rutherford's atomic model? Planetary model, because that arrangement is look like a solar system. So, it is called as planetary model. So, students, I hope you understood this Rutherford's model. In the next class, we will see Bohr's model. Thank you.